Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What's going on, Chip? We have a very special guest with us tonight, Mark Phillips. What's up, Mark? It's been a while since you've been here on the chain.
Hey guys, it's I've been hanging out, lurking around, watching every episode, and Chip reached out the other day and said, "Hey, it's time to come back on." I'm like, okay, great. Been waiting for the call, awesome. So I'm excited to be here.
Man, it's great to have you here with us. I'm excited for tonight. Every time we have you on, it's more stimulating than the next. We just dive into so many different topics. Tonight, Ripple XRP, who guessed it? You know, we're going to talk about XRP. Plus, it was in the thumbnail. Big XRP on the chain. We want to touch a little bit on Elon Musk because he seemed to be causing a little bit of Bitcoin panic, a little Bitcoin meltdown, and a little Dogecoin. I don't know what. And what about the SEC facing off with Ripple? And it's getting heated. It's getting exciting. So we got all that, probably a lot more. Chip, you ready for this thing?
Let's do this. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Hey, good to see you, Mark.
It is great to be back, guys. How's your weekend?
Awesome.
Short as always. It's like you blink and it's over, right? It's like weird.
Yeah, that's true. Ask me what I did.
What did you do this weekend, Mark?
What did you do, Mark?
I did taxes.
What?
That's
I hate it. I hate it so bad. I hate it so bad. I put it off to the last minute. If you told me I could do last year's taxes next year, I'd wait until next year. I can't wait until this stuff cooks off and I can have like a legal team and a tax team and a family office and have somebody else to do all that stuff for me.
How was the crypto tax season?
It was pretty easy. I'm not a trader. I'm a holder. So
that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Mine was literally, checking that one box that said, did you buy, sell, or trade? Yeah. That was it.
I did.
Don't ask me where they are, but yes, I did.
Easy. That's nice, man. It's really trying, and it's one area that I think is really awakening some passions in people as the administration and the financial people and Janet Yellen over the Treasury, they're all starting to dig in and trying to find ways to take money from the crypto gains while at the same time potentially penalizing them while there's all this uncertainty with what's going on with the SEC. So, man, it's going to be an interesting year. That's for sure. Rest of the year, I should say.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't been boring so far. So yeah, I'm probably putting off work I need to be doing, just watching the SEC lawsuit and seeing what comes out. Like, I don't know, 3 times a day, there's something new. It seems like watching the markets and what's going up, what's going down, listening to crazy tweets and watching Saturday Night Live, and everything just seems to be coming together at one focal point. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and then we had some excitement in crypto Twitter. We had Kendra reappear, although I don't believe it's the same Kendra because just doesn't smell or sound right. But again, it's fun. It's entertainment. What other digital asset out there has riddlers and personalities? And I mean, it's just bears, 589, it's got this whole folklore around it. It's something very bizarre and fun at the same time. Jeff,
it really is.
Look at Jeff, he's dressed up. He's partially dressed up. It was great having on Warren the other night. I mean, it was just it was just actually really cool. I guess Jeff and I were doing a little fanboying, just having, member of Congress on, just like seeing hey, you wrote, I felt like Chris Farley on that sketch. Like I felt like asking him, hey, you wrote the token taxonomy, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, awesome. It's like that was awesome. I love when you did that. You're in Congress, right? Like awesome. It's like we're like, okay, don't blow it. Jeff and I are dressed up in jackets, and Warren's like, oh, I've seen your show, and you guys always wear T-shirts, and I'm at my office, the congressional office,
wearing a polo shirt.
I thought I'd wear a polo shirt and kind of like be sort of like, and here we are dressed up because, but it was all good.
Yeah, that was really good. So your takeaway from that do you get the sense that we're actually getting some traction in Congress in terms of having clarity, having some kind of legislative framework, so we get out of this this sort of molasses that feels like we've been trudging through for the last few years?
I believe, listening to, some of the things that Warren Davidson was talking about, that we are getting a little bit closer. What's unique this time around is that he's sitting on the Financial Services Committee as a more senior congressman. As he came into office in 2016, so he's still new. The second time around, still relatively new. He had no seniority built up to where people are actually going to say, hey, let's pay attention and make this thing happen. So I believe, now could be a little bit different. Plus, there's a lot more momentum behind everything. And time will tell, whether it's going to happen in this congressional year or next. Maybe we need a little bit more time. Maybe we need to reach out a little bit more and talk to some of the other congressional reps. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. Brian Armstrong from Coinbase tweeted out saying he had been in DC for a while, meeting with members of Congress and regulators. So you don't just pop into DC for the heck of it. You come
there
with a
all
purpose.
week. Yeah, and I tweeted
exactly.
him. I sent him a tweet. I'm like, did you happen to talk to Maxine Waters? The chair of the Financial Services Committee,
Yeah.
And I tagged all the Congress, the sponsors of the token taxonomy. It's ready to go. Let's go, And then I was talking to some, and then we want to talk to our LA peeps, because he kind of, look, I kind of get where he is, right? He was in his congressional office. He was talking in it's very different the way he was talking. He wasn't saying, hey, I'm not here representing Congress. He wasn't giving us any of that guff, right? We got from what we usually hear from, Hester Peterson or whatever. Yeah, the SEC. It's
right.
Like the official logo is right back here in the office with the wood panel, walls and everything. And she's like, hello, everybody. Let's do a Q&A. Let's talk about what we think, but I'm not here as an official representative of the SEC. Don't mind the logo behind me. This is not me in official capacity.
Come on. I mean, that veneer is so thin. The reality is, if you're in the office, I mean, that is the office you hold, and you are in the office as in you're sitting there in front of the seal. You can say, look, this is just my opinion, but the reality is you're still in that organization. It's kind of like when Clayton and Hinman, made their statements multiple times in public, and they would always caveat, hey, it's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I was going to put that on.
Yeah, but you are the chairman or, the head of, enforcement. So yeah, it might be your personal opinion, but your personal opinion is not the same as my personal opinion, because I'm not in that office. So
that's
it carries
a very good point.
More weight.
That's a very good point.
It's a great point. I just want to give a quick quick shout out to Blockchain Backer. What is up? Great to see you on here. We also have 575 people in the stream right now. If you're brand new to On the Chain, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notifier. You get notified. You guys know the drill, and hit that thumbs up. And but Mark, man, it's so with this, the idea of getting some clarity, this idea that the SEC seems to be a little bit, I don't want to say lost, maybe I don't even want to say inept. I mean, I don't even know how to explain how they're going after this case with Ripple, and they seem to be tripping over themselves while they're doing it, and the judge isn't happy, and it just seems
neither
like
of the
things
judges
are not. Yeah, neither of the judges, and it just. What's your take on it? Every single day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, and I didn't even stay in a Motel 6, but
you didn't stay in a Motel 6.
Yeah, but it's not a good look, right?
No.
It or was it Holiday Inn Express? I guess. Yeah. So, and I don't play one on TV, but it really is not a good look. Just from a lay person watching this, and you see them, and it just looks like every single time they engage, Ripple either eats their lunch, or they trip on themselves and embarrass themselves in front of the judge. I really wonder what Gary Gensler's reaction to all of this is going to be. I think Jeremy Hogan the other day pointed out that his perspective was, if Gensler has about 2 weeks to either have his guys pull out of this thing and get some kind of settlement, or ride it in for the the ultimate outcome, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. And his point was, if there is regulatory clarity that's just coming over the horizon, are you going to want to fight this battle when the whole thing might be moot once the regulatory clarity comes out? And two, are you going to want to fight the battle if regulatory clarity is coming and you don't have to fight this fight to begin with? And three, the longer you sit on it, the more you own it. And so he didn't file this lawsuit. It was a previous chairman under a previous administration. But the longer he sits on it, the more his fingerprints are on it, and it becomes his legacy.
That's right.
And I'm not sure that's what he wants. I mean, I don't know the guy, but it's not what I would want.
Not the pro crypto guy, right? The guy he's pro crypto, guys. He loves crypto. By the way, I just want to say one thing about Blockchain Backer. Big fan, and he's
me too.
He's also been really good to us, and he's sent so many people here, man. He's just an amazing human being, and that's always want to say that. And also too, we have an open invitation out there, and we'll get him on there. It's just that he's got a lot. He's busy right now, and when he gets a moment in time, we'll bring him on the chain. But I just wanted to say that didn't want that to pass. It was a story in my head, but
he really should, and it's good to know he's got our back.
He does.
It's awesome.
Yeah, he really
he's
does.
Great.
Well, go ahead, Jeff.
I just want to give a quick shout out to XRP Sweden, and he says hit the like button. So with and XRP Sweden, it's interesting that one of the last times that he threw up a super chat like that, he was explaining how he's doing it through XRP. And so it goes through XRP and then goes over and it gets converted, and it's a real world use case right there, happening as we see it. So that's always good to see.
That is awesome.
I want to say the whole idea with what's going on with the SEC. I sometimes think that if you know how government works, right? We kind of have an idea how government works. We know how the legislators, are Congress. You have the House, you have the Senate, you have obviously the president who has the power to go ahead and sign or veto or whatever. The problem I think we're getting into here is that we're kind of forgetting how this stuff works. The SEC is not a legislation body, right? They're not going to sit there and create legislation. Go ahead, Jeff, take that.
There's a thing. I was going to leave it up there for a little while you're talking, but Emmeline's saying thanks for the happy birthday, Blockchain Backer. Guys, have a birthday drink on me.
Awesome, man. That's awesome.
Sweet.
Happy birthday. By the way, I want to say this is our 100th episode on the podcast. On January 1st, we started doing the podcast. We are now up to this is the 100th episode, and we have Mark Phillips here to commemorate this special evening. So that's awesome, Mark. I feel you always show up at the right time when we're doing some cool stuff, So, but I was going to say that part of the problem the SEC has here is they've kind of gone down this hole, and they keep, the first rule of holes is when you're in one, stop digging. They didn't get that memo. They just keep digging it deeper and deeper and deeper, which I love, because if you go back to December when Jeff and I first started unraveling this case and everyone was freaking out, we read through it a couple times. Jeff and I talked about it a lot, and we said, this is incredibly weak. There's a lot of fluffy language in here, but okay, so they sold an unregistered security in 2013. Prove it, and if you do prove it, fine them. That's what this is all about. Today's XRP, I'm very sure, with all the use cases, with John Deaton filing the memorandum, there is so many use cases there, it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't think there's any crypto that has this many use cases. So that's one of the things they could have done. Say like, hey, so they didn't collapse the whole industry and erase these billions of dollars, saying, look, we're only looking at this one segment, just like Ethereum, which once looked like a lot like a security. We don't believe that today's XRP is a security, right? They could have said that, but they didn't. So I feel like they just kind of dug their hole deeper and deeper. What do you think about that, Mark? I mean, are they just really so far into this, they don't know how to get out of it? I mean,
yeah, I think. I mean, that's the way it looks from the sidelines. The more we find out, so John Deaton, as you said, has been doing crazy amounts of research, and the community has really gotten behind him and provided a bunch of documents that he's able to use. The more we find out, the worse it actually looks. You start looking at the moves that folks like Clayton and Hinman and a couple other folks have made. where they were making these not official, but they might as well be official proclamations, that it was squishy enough that they can later disavow and say that, well, that wasn't an official, ruling, but the market reacts how the market reacts, and they know that. And then as soon as they're out of office, they go to these jobs that are in Bitcoin and Ethereum focused companies. Well, that looks really strange, right? I mean, if I was the inspector general for the SEC or Treasury or somebody, I'd want to be checking that out because it looks bad. Maybe there's nothing to it, but it looks bad. And if you're a federal agency, you don't want to even give the impression of impropriety. Everything you do needs to look like it's on the up and up. So just creating the impression that something nefarious is going on is sort of a cardinal sin. And the more we find out, the worse it looks. The other thing that I think is really interesting about this case is because the SEC's main job is to protect investors. That's what it says in their mission statement. Mm-hmm. Normally, when they go after a company, they do it on behalf of the customers of that company who have maybe been wronged and been harmed in some way. In this case, because of John Deaton's lawsuit, we've got well over 16,000 XRP holders who have sided with Ripple against the SEC. That's 180 degrees from how it normally is. So you've got the customers who supposedly have been harmed, who are saying, no, it's the SEC who's harming us, and suing the SEC. That's insane. If that doesn't tell you what you need to know about how this case is going to play out, I don't know what does.
It's definitely a big deal, and the SEC has, as of late, they've really stepped in it, over and over again, as they're coming after certain companies, but they're not coming after companies. Then it seems like they're singling out some sort of penalty against the investor, and they're making some changes right now, even with the OTC, with over-the-counter trades. So they're not going to allow, if you're not putting your reporting on the chain available to investors, they won't let non-accredited accredited investors actually invest in some of these companies, which in that case might be right, but for the most part, though, they always seem to be, just a little bit behind when it comes to standing up for the investor. I find that a little troubling, and especially this highlights it. This is shining like a big bright spotlight on it. What do you think, Chip?
Absolutely.
I gotta say, like Norseman, I want to give a big shout out. Thank you so much for that. He says blockchain backer on the chain, Jeremy Hogan are 110% legit. The rest of the XRP cheerleaders, thank you for that. It's so great to be considered in such an elite group of people. Putting us up there with two well-known aficionados, especially blockchain backer, man. He's like, legend, and Jeremy Hogan has made such an amazing name for himself in just a short period of time, but people have come to rely heavily on his takes and his interpretation. So thank you so much for that. Jeff, what was the question? There was a question. I'm pretty sure there was a question there somewhere.
I know there were two other nice super chats, and I can't pull them up now. One of them said, shout out to Taylor Swift. I don't know what that one was
what's
about.
weird though, Jeff?
That.
There's something
and then there
weird
was another
on.
one here that said, keep up the great work, guys. And I had it posted, but they disappeared. So
there's something weird though. Like something's going on with the software, because I thought I saw them and I thought maybe I didn't see it, but I was looking up and down and they're gone, right? It's kind of weird.
They're gone. They're definitely gone.
So
I'll pull them up on YouTube and we'll give a shout out after.
Yeah, let's please do that, because I hate when that happens, guys. It's just sometimes the software does its weird thing, and so we have a lot of other drama in the crypto Twitter sphere. We have the laser. You usually see the laser eyes out there, and the laser eyes, the red ones, are the Bitcoin maxis, right? So you see them. Everyone has them in their crypto Twitter profile, or wherever they are. And so lately, thank you for that. Laser eyes. There you go. They're laser eyes. So now the new laser eyes are the green, because economically green, sustainable green. So someone came up with this whole thing and said the XRP community is going to have green eyes, and then I think And I don't know if you have yet, Mark, or you, Jeff, but I think everybody has to send. It's like an obligatory thing to do now. Is you got to send Elon Musk a little thing and talk about XRP, because I'm sure he doesn't know anything about it. He probably has never heard of it before. He's Elon Musk. You know, he founded.
I'm sure he hasn't.
You know, he founded PayPal, Tesla, you know, SpaceX, and whatever this new satellite company is. He's probably so lost when it comes to crypto. He just knows about Doge, right?
He's hyping up Doge like crazy, and you know, so there was some misunderstanding also of the whole Bitcoin thing that drove me crazy. You know, because he came out basically said he's not going to allow the buying of his Teslas with Bitcoin, and he was really buying into the whole green hype and all of that over not using it as a spendable asset. But he then came out and said he's not selling his Bitcoin either. So they tried to put this spin on it like he went negative Bitcoin. He didn't go negative Bitcoin, but maybe also came to the realization that Bitcoin isn't the right digital asset to use as a spendable currency. It's not, it's slow, it's expensive. And so if you have Bitcoin, you're probably not running out and going to buy your Tesla with Bitcoin. You know, if anything, maybe you'll put that into XRP and then go buy it, and then it's, a seamless transaction. It doesn't cost you that much either. So maybe he came to that aha moment. Maybe he didn't. Maybe, Mark needs to draft an email to Elon and say, hey, Elon, what's up?
Well, Mark's the guy that knows how to get stuff done. I would put my faith and trust in Mark doing it. I don't know so much about me. That's why sometimes I'm like, Jeff, when we like do stuff and we both have our strengths on the team here. And, Mark, maybe that's what's missing. Put him over the edge. And we had 30,000 people sign a petition that's going, I believe on Monday morning, that's going to actually go to Gary Gensler, and they're requesting that he drop the lawsuit, like just settle it, stop this nonsense and just settle it. And there's some other stuff in there too, which I don't think we really need to get into, but look, 30,000 people. Then you, like Mark, you brought up a really good point. 16 or 17,000 with Deaton's thing, another 30,000 people over here. Like these, good job, SEC. Glad you're protecting the investors. Here's collectively, I mean, there might be some crossover, but here's collectively 40-some thousand people that are not happy that you are not looking after their best interest. What say you?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I don't feel very protected in this respect. The Elon thing is really fascinating. He's got what, 54 million followers on Twitter. So, the likelihood he's going to read any of our tweets is, 0.0000 something. But I tweeted to him the other day, and the thought was, and not surprisingly, he didn't get a response. But the thought was, if you think about the businesses that he's got going right now, he's got this sort of full stack, soup to nuts, very green, electric based energy ecosystem. And so from producing electricity through solar roof tiles, storing it in the batteries in the houses and the office buildings, charging your cars and your even semi trucks with it. And then he's also got this, with Starlink, with the SpaceX projects,
right.
This very fast 5G low latency global internet system that they're putting up with the satellite constellation. So it occurred to me that the only real piece that's missing in that is the streaming payments piece. And so think about it. If say you've got one of these, your house, and you put the power wall in for the battery, and you got the Tesla solar roof tiles, and your house is generating its own electricity. What if it generates extra electricity? You could sell it back to the grid automatically, right, and you could be getting paid for it. And there are projects that Ripple has partnered with that do that payment using the XRP ledger and in some way connected to XRP. But you could be doing the same thing with streaming payments across the board. What if you're an Uber driver and you're driving your Tesla and you're getting streaming payments coming in through the Starlink system, and they're all micropayments, instant? That also fits both with Ripple's model and with Tesla's model. So I think the world is on the precipice of this radical change, and he's set up pretty nice for this whole thing, especially as we move into this sort of green initiative.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. XRP Sweden said, please take away his phone, because I think maybe that'll
I
help.
love his phone. This is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, and then we got Strata says, would love to see you all make a live stream with blockchain backer. So there you go, blockchain backer.
Yeah, there's demand.
There's demand. The demand is ramping up there. So that's awesome to see. But yeah, you know what, the use case for that, the whole idea of the streaming payments, I believe it's the next stage in the evolution of finance and making money. And we all see it. I believe it, passionately, but there's so much more to it. You bring in the smart contract aspect of it. You bring in Flare. You bring in some of the other projects that will eventually, spawn off of that, to where there's always a give and take with everything that you're doing. So, right now, imagine you're using some of those programs like Waze out there, if anyone still uses that. And you go out there and I guess even with Google Maps, it's constantly pinging your location, and it's feeding the system to let everybody know where the traffic is. So why shouldn't we be compensated for that? Google's making money off it. Why shouldn't we for pinging it? If you're an Uber driver and you're, giving, there's a little more to it, you're always in that flow of traffic. You should be, rewarded as such, so putting, if we have extra electricity, like you mentioned, and we're generating it at some future date when solar can actually generate enough for your house plus, and then you can feed it back to the grid. I think that's great. Why shouldn't we be able to do that? But it's only going to be possible once we get to this phase, with streaming payments.
That's a good point, Jeff. And, one of the things, I got in a little bit of trouble on crypto Twitter because I basically said, Ace 5 says, life you love
to VC backer, get on here with us, go live with us, let's do a live stream. But he's saying, hey, spam it with the rockets. So
spam with the rockets. Well, I had mentioned the fact that at least 20% of 20% of the energy generated, like on the grid here in the United States, is through coal. So I was like, he was making one thing about coal. So it's like people get all nervous about coal, and then I was like, well, so you're using coal from a plant to go to make energy so you can plug your car into it. So then you can go ahead and charge it up. But somebody brought up on Jeff's stream yesterday, what about the lithium batteries they're mining down in Chile right now? Those lithium batteries are like really bad for the environment. The problem with the Teslas too is the fact that the battery science isn't quite there yet. So I understand you don't want to have a bright light shining on you because you're like, wait a minute, you're the guy who's creating these eco-friendly cars. Then people started bringing up, the Maxis started bringing up the fact that, well, you get subsidies, Elon, and your company. You know who doesn't get subsidies, government subsidies? Bitcoin. So people started just like, taking a couple left shots, right hooks, and kind of like saying, hey, but, if you're going to be out there and you're going to be that, I understand you don't want that spotlight on you. But it's kind of one of these things where once you dipped your toe in and then you jumped in the water, it's kind of hard to get out without saying, what, me? I'm not wet. I wasn't even near the water. It's like too late. You've already spoiled it, right? So now it's like no matter what. By the way, Jeff, just so you know, so he did say today on Twitter, he made a comment off somebody's obscure comment where someone had said something about selling it, like, hey, lay off, he may sell it. And he kind of inferred, and again, the way you read into it, inferred that he may just dump his Bitcoin. So I'm like, that's what I love about Elon Musk. He doesn't have a filter, and I think I love it about the guy. Some of the other CEOs out there are very reserved. You got Jeff Bezos. He's like, hey, I just dealt with this whole, falling out with my wife. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. And Elon's there just like, he's just like Sweden saying, he's just sitting there hit with his phone and send. He doesn't care, and he's doing memes and he talked to the Doge developers. He didn't talk to them. Now he talked to them, and the Doge developers haven't heard from him. Who knows what's going on? And
Shmax is saying he's dumping into the altcoins. So, we'll see what happens. I don't know if he's going to dump Bitcoin once they moved, so much of Tesla into there. But Now we're seeing even with MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, he came out and basically doubled down. I don't know, he didn't double down, but he put more money into Bitcoin. He said, here's another 15 million, after putting his 1.5 billion that he's already put into Bitcoin. But you know what I see, Mark? One of the keys with all this, and we can keep talking about Bitcoin, we can talk about XRP, but the key is that even with these financial institutions, a lot of the big players, when they start coming in, just like the smaller investors, they're going to look at the top 10. They're going to see what's going on in the space. They're going to look and say, Bitcoin's number one. Maybe that's the store value. Maybe that's safe. How do we get bigger gains? Let's start diversifying. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Diversify. They're going to look at Ethereum. Then they'll look at the project and say, well, Ethereum, maybe it's good, maybe not, and they're going to move to the next one. And they go down the list, based on cost. And obviously everybody's threshold's a little different. When you get a, Michael Saylor or Elon Musk, that can buy in at $50,000 of Bitcoin and put millions and millions or billions of dollars into it, but they're going to look at XRP and they're say, these guys are changing the world, the way, and we're talking about real change, right? Because this is how money moves. If you can streamline the movement of money across borders and make that more efficient, make it better for everybody, the world's different, regardless of all these centralized digital currencies that are popping up in places like China and elsewhere. What are your thoughts?
I think that's exactly right. It is interesting. There does feel like there's a lot of traction, a lot of interest in getting involved in cryptocurrency in general. One example I would give is that every single day, you look in Wall Street Journal, you look on CNBC, you look on CNN, pick a network, doesn't matter. There's going to be a crypto story. A year ago, that wasn't the case. And so for me, it doesn't really matter if they're talking about Bitcoin or Cardano or Dogecoin. Doesn't matter. It's becoming socialized to everybody, which is ultimately good for us. So I don't expect the new people that come into the space, whether they're new businesses or they're new individuals interested in buying, I don't expect that they're going to walk in with this deep knowledge of the crypto space and the pros and cons of every single project and every company. I didn't. I would be willing to bet you probably didn't either. I jumped in on the hype in 2017 when the market was going crazy. And, what I was trying to get desperately was Bitcoin and Ethereum. Yep. Well, it wasn't until you started digging in and learning and becoming a student of it that you realize, oh, okay, well, there's this huge world of difference between the different projects. So more people coming into the space, I think, is good. More companies coming into the space is good. Staying on the headlines is good. And tying it back to Elon Musk, that's one of the things that he does really well. Is he's able to make headlines. Does he really care about Dogecoin? I don't know. I'd be surprised if he did. Does he really care long-term about Bitcoin? I'd kind of be surprised if he did. But you look at the business he's in, and part of it is dependent on everybody staying aware of the things that he and his companies are doing. And if it means sort of clowning around a little bit, whether it's going on with Joe Rogan or it's sending out a silly tweet, he is sort of a master at doing that. And so the net benefit for him is there. Doesn't really matter what he's talking about, as long as he's not undermining his core businesses. And I don't think he's done that. What do you think?
Well, I was gonna say that's really a solid kind of a introspect into Elon Musk, because he is a master. It's funny with when I look at Elon Musk and I look at what he does, he can move public opinion, right? It's like how much news did he get where he says, oh, Bitcoin tank thanks to Elon Musk. It's like he single-handedly sent a tweet and all of a sudden he tanked the entire market. And I don't necessarily always think that. I kind of agree with you. I don't necessarily think he really does care. And he's one of the guys out there that told the SEC to shove it right to their face. And then he got fined publicly for some of his tweets too. And this is what I like about the guy. Like him or hate him, he doesn't have a filter. He's not reserved. He's not like, I'm not talking in a public capacity right now and all lawyered up and everything. He's just being himself, And if you look at a guy who didn't make that much money, I think he made $110 million. Don't get me wrong, not that much, but to take 110 million or so and then put half of that into Tesla and then have everything in the world against you saying, hey, I'm going to go do this electric car company. It's like, what? Why would you do that? The dumbest thing. Oh, yeah. And by the way, we're going to create a rocket that's going to end up being reusable. What do you mean? Well, we'll fire it off and then we'll land it on there. Like, no one's ever done that before. Like a guy that rolls the dice like this, you got to be a little crazy, but you got to be confident enough to know that you can change the world. You had guys like Steve Jobs were this type of a character where he said, I don't care. He was a psychopath, but he would throw things across the room and says, I want to do this. And if you don't think it's possible, leave the room. And Musk is a guy, it took him 7 or 8 years to figure out how to take that rocket. The first time I saw that, I thought there's no way that's real. That is some kind of sorcery stuff, right? I mean, we grew up with rockets. A rocket went up and then they went to the moon and all this, allegedly, but they went somewhere, and that they didn't land the rocket back. Like, okay, here's the rocket, we'll reuse it. That's to me a guy who I love him just because of that. He doesn't have the filter. And if he brings a lot of people via Dogecoin, people are like, oh, Dogecoin. Well, Dogecoin has a use case. Why? Because Flare is incorporating it into its ecosystem. Now, and this is going to be fun to figure out for people who don't even know anything about Flare, right? You're Doge holders, and you're a moon boy, you're moon girl, and you're going to the moon, and yay, and Elon, you're like, wait, I can do something with this crypto? Wait, it has a use case? So this is going to be fun to watch how that develops and how that's going to develop in that community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about some of the things that he's done that have no real commercial value. But he does them anyway, and I guarantee he benefits from them. Who else comes out with a flamethrower that you sell? That you sell
awesome.
retail? A flamethrower. Come on now. Who else? Yep. Who else launches a roadster into space with a spaceman constantly streaming David Bowie's Space Oddity as it jets out to Mars? With an open offer, anybody who gets it gets to keep it. Well,
that's right.
And is live streaming back to the Earth the whole time. I mean, he does these things because they're fun, because they get attention, because they attract people to and energy to his companies and to him.
That's right.
I think the guy's brilliant.
How about
it's a different world. It's a completely different world now. I mean, it's almost like comic book stuff. You think back, where you get these super villains, these super rich super villains that are launching rockets and doing all this crazy stuff. And, even to the point, Chip brought that up, just launching a car, forget about the rocket, doing what NASA couldn't do, but he did that privately, which is great, because, private enterprise is amazing. But when you launch a vehicle and you're taking on the big three, in the US, you're taking on GM, Chrysler, Ford, regardless of the difficult times they're going through, nobody ever survives that. You go back and look at the DeLorean, look what that guy went through in the automotive industry. Basically, there are other things that put him out of business, but they were instrumental in it, and so that's a tough road to take. And here's the guy going up against the automotive industry, going up against NASA in rocket building and some of these other big, defense contract companies that should be building rockets, when they build missiles. So it's really an interesting story. Chip, you brought up something really key, and there's actually a question that filters right into that. That's from Hussein Badachani, and he's saying, love your channel, and I share your content with our Facebook group, which is awesome. UK Crypto. Nice. We have a great following here. We have people from all over the world that tune into On the Chain, and so we have right now we have 1,100 people on the stream with us. If you're brand new to On the Chain, make sure you hit the subscribe button, sub to the channel. We have another channel as well where we drop short form kind of daily content, so you guys can check that out. And we announced earlier that our podcast, we started that back in Chip. When did we start that? In January?
January 1st. This is our 100th episode.
100th episode on the podcast. So you guys can check that out as well. So Hussein was saying, can you share your thoughts on the Flare network and what impact that may have on XRP. And, Mark, why don't you start with that one? I think that's a great question.
That's good.
That's an awesome question. I have two thoughts. My first thought is, it confuses the heck out of me. So I really have to knuckle down and do some homework on it, because I've watched several of the videos trying to explain it to me, and I'm obviously not smart enough to get it on the first pass. So I have some homework to do. The second thought is the potential for this network is just insane. And so, Hussein asked about the impact on XRP, which I think is going to be massive, but I think it's going to be massive across the board. If you've listened to their CEO, to the Flare CEO, talking about the impact it's going to have on Dogecoin, for example, which, back to Chip's point about Doge actually has a use case. Any crypto, any digital asset that has any kind of use case and gets picked up as an F asset, and can use it on the Flare system, is going to multiply the potential impact and value of that asset. So I think it's huge. I don't fully understand it. The F assets and the YFLRs and all that. Somebody's going to dumb it down for me and say, Mark, here's your tutorial. Here's how to use it. Here's how to do this. Here's how to do that. I'm waiting for that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's always hard when something doesn't exist, right? You can't really go well, go to this URL and do this and click that and do. So right now it's understanding what the whole sort of ecosystem can do. And then there's so many. What I like about what Flare did is they said, let's build this sort of ecosystem that others can build in. But I look at Matic, which now is called. My dog will not leave me alone. That's why you see me. He's trying to jump up on me, Max, dude. Anyway, he's jumping all over me, Max. He's just a friendly boy. He's just wants to be all over me. But
that's what you get for walking around with a pocket full of little Smokies.
Well, I don't actually have them. I usually do walk around with that. But you look at something like Matic, right? So now it's called Polygon. But I mean, you look at their main use case. One of the things that they started doing was they're providing a scalable and a more secure sort of instant Ethereum. They're kind of sort of creating something outside of that network, making it better. And you see with these gas fees going on. And so I see Flare of being this ecosystem. So that works around, I see NFTs. Why would you're everything's going to move over. It's the same way that if you look at XRP as being Bitcoin 2.0 or 3.0, and you look at Ethereum was smart. Jeff brought this up last week. Talked about they built this ecosystem. Did they have it all figured out? They didn't. They had the initial idea. They rolled it out. You started these ERC20 coins and the BEP20s, and then now everything was built on it. And now it's a congested nightmare. And these miners are making a mint. They're making a ton of coin all the time with this. But then people said, well, how do we fix the problem? But you look at what Flare is. When I look at what for XRP, so you create an F asset out of it with your 2.5% times collateral, and you're going to earn rewards. So you create a smart contract, and when it goes ahead, either positive or negative, something happens or doesn't happen, you're going to earn a reward, right? And then you look at the Spark token. Hey, we're all Jeff and I are like, where's our Spark? And it's we're going to get 15% first, and then maybe we have 3 years to get paid. I'm like, guys, we didn't pay anything for this. And then, you have these IOUs over on Bitcoin that are going for $2, and change. So you look at, like you mentioned, Cardano 88, that's $2.30 right now, $2.30. So are we going to get there as a community? Yeah, I honestly think, and I've said this, I don't do predictions, but I just know when some of this stuff gets behind us, XRP is going to go ballistic. It's going to go parabolic. And the reason is because you saw what happened when I look at what XRP, but you saw what happened when MoneyGram left. And there was somebody had been passing a video around last week, and they said, hey, I know you're getting this crypto here. Is this like what you had with Ripple and XRP? And he's like, no. Alex Holmes said, no, that's not what it is. That kind of got the ball rolling. Their chief financial officer, when that partnership went bye-bye, Well, everyone's like, why don't you plug in XLM? Why don't you plug in Cardano? Why don't you why? Because they don't have the infrastructure laid down. They don't have the rails laid down. All of this stuff that's been going on for 8 years that Ripple's been doing, putting this foundational process in place, the banks are waiting for the sign off. The banks, their partners are ready to go. That's why it's going to go parabolic. And this Flare network is an extension of that, which I feel it's just going to make it that much better. And look at Trustline. Trustline, you'll be able to take your XRP, you'll be able to get a stable coin on the first stable coin on the XRPL. You'll be able to loan that out, right? You'll be able to get a return. So we're moving into a new place of where we used to talk about off ramps. We got to have our off ramps, and and everybody, DAI, and everybody was saying you got to have an off ramp.
I never talked about an off ramp.
Jeff never did, because we don't believe in off ramps. People love the crypto ecosystem. Your crypto is going to go to work. It's like, get out there. You've been laying around here for 3 years on the couch, on the ledger. Get your ass out there. Go make me some money. And that's how DeFi is going to work. Your crypto is going to be out there working for you. And the more projects you have in there, and the master nodes and all this other stuff in the DeFi space, DeFi is coming to XRPL. DeFi is coming, and we are going to be the beneficiaries.
That's exactly amazing. Right.
Yep.
My goal really is
shout out. Let me just give a quick shout out to Rob XRP. It's been sitting up there for a little while. We just say congratulations on the 100th episode. That's on our podcast, and you guys can check out the podcast actually. So
you can get it anywhere. Just so you know, we say, well, the podcast. Well, maybe you like to listen to it on Google Play, or the Google. What is it, the Google podcast, Jeff? I don't know. I'm not familiar with that ecosystem. Apple. Almost everywhere you can,
Spotify,
Spotify, wherever it is, they're everywhere. Wherever you listen to podcasts or consume podcasts, search for On the Chain Live, and you will come up with ours. And then that's how you'll find our content. Because a lot of people said, hey, I want to be able to take this with me in the car and just listen. I don't want YouTube. I don't pay for the pro version of it. I just want to listen to it. So that's what prompted us. And whoever did that was somebody from the community. Thank you for that, because now this is our 100th episode. Go ahead, Mark.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, but going back to the future of XRP and cryptocurrencies in general, my goal really is to die a very old man, having never sold one XRP.
Wow.
Because I don't think there'll be a need to. I mean, if you want to cash out and going back to this off ramp idea, you want to cash out into something else. Well, the something else needs to be better than what you're trading out for. I think I'm going to be just happy, keeping it in XRP and a handful of others, and letting those assets do the work for me without ever finding an off ramp.
Yep, I agree with that. And look at what does this say? Handman Crypto saying Ripple lawsuit gets settled or finalizes one, with an outcome. Let's say a Ripple lawsuit outcome. The exchange relists, Flare launches, XRP is going parabolic. And there's so much going on right now overall in this space that we see the momentum is starting to churn. I was talking to my buddy about this yesterday. We're looking at some new assets, and I was kind of explaining to him about what's going on with Matic. So we bought into Matic, and I put some money into HBAR recently, into Hedera Hashgraph. I have a portfolio for my son that I've been building on as well, and it's so interesting because there's all these projects, but the momentum, it's like I feel like there's so much happening right now that was never like this before, because like you, I got in 2017, although I knew about Bitcoin for a number of years prior to that, but it took me a little while to actually start investing. So 17, wrote it up, wrote it down, experienced it. I never believed in the off-ramp idea though, because I saw where the space was going. I said, if you believe in everything that this space represents, then the money that you're putting in is money that if the space goes to zero, you're willing to lose every dollar you put in. But at the same time, you're along for the ride, and that ride is going to be massive, and so that's where, as we start looking at the projects, I don't know, there's been, those who've said 98% of those the crypto assets that are available right now will be gone in a number of years. And that might be the case, and there's a lot. There's like 3,800, and they keep growing, and they're going to fall by the wayside. A lot of these meme coins and all that stuff will disappear. But the idea of an off ramp, And that's why I always disagreed. You know, when I hear DAI was talking about these off ramps and you got to the off ramps and the off ramps, I said, if you're trading and you're in your short term, then believe the off ramp, because if you're so passionate about the off ramp, it means you got to get all your money off as quick as possible, that you also believe that the space is short term and it's going to disappear. You know, it's either the greatest new asset class of all time, or it's not. You know, you can't have it both ways. And so now we're starting to see where it's going, and what Hanman is saying, I think is really on point. So
yeah, absolutely. And I do think that the Ripple lawsuit, once that's settled one way or another, that's going to light the fuse for XRP, certainly for the shorter term. But I think what lights the fuse really for the entire sector is when we get that regulatory clarity. Not just about what's a security and what's not a security. That's important. But the other piece is, how are taxes handled?
Yep. 100%.
Which is not a sexy topic, and one that I frankly hate, which is why I put my taxes off so long. But it really is important, because think about this. If you're going on an off ramp and you're selling out into dollars or something else, that's a taxable event. But what if you never exit the digital space? What if it stays in digital assets and you're doing DeFi things and smart contracts and it's working for you? How is that taxed? You know, is it capital gains? Is it what is it? We don't know yet. And that issue is going to be really, really relevant in the very short term. And so the work that Warren Davidson and other congressmen are doing to try to get us some clarity on what these things are and how they should be treated, how they should be regulated, how they should be taxed, that is critical work. So if I would ask somebody in the space, in this community, to do one thing, it would be reach out to your congressman and tell them that we need regulatory clarity on digital assets.
Agreed.
I think that's what's the lid that's holding the whole thing down more than anything else. The lawsuit's interesting. The law, but as you pointed out earlier, there could be a fine and then Ripple goes back to doing business. That's not the big strategically important thing here. It's that regulatory clarity. It's that framework that we need. And so I applaud the work that Representative Davidson and the rest of them are doing. I think it's just phenomenal and absolutely critical.
Yeah, I think that's great. And with the almost 1,200 people that are on right now, if you guys haven't seen it yet, on Thursday, our last stream, we actually had Warren Davidson on with us. Congressman Warren Davidson was in the hot seat right where Mark's sitting right now. And we had a really great conversation with Congressman Davidson about the Token Taxonomy Act. And we will be reaching out to the additional representatives that are either promoting bills themselves, like you have HR 1602, and there's other bills from the last session that I think are really key. You have like Ted Budd and Tom Emmer and Darren Soto in Orlando. They've all been somehow effective, but you're right, 100%. Reach out to your congressional rep. Even reach out if you're in the U.S. Obviously, if you're outside the U.S., then you can't do this. But reach out to your state representative as well, because the state, what we're seeing in Wyoming and other states that are getting super crypto friendly, now's the time to make it happen. It really is.
That's true. Good point, Jeff. And, Gottheimer, I want to say too, Gottheimer out of, I think, New Jersey. Yeah, so those are like the co-sponsors. But, if you guys live in Los Angeles, I mean, Warren Davidson sort of alluded to this, but I kind of understand his role. But she chairs the Financial Services Committee. She's somebody who's really important because she could actually, if anyone's out there, we'd like to organize a thing where maybe 5 or 10 people call the office or try to take a meeting now. If you can't get with her, but maybe her staff, and do some education and talk. Because I have to think that in that Los Angeles area, there are a ton of people who are into digital assets and would love some clarity. I don't care what project you're into, and don't think that you can't do it. Well, who am I? Well, if you're a constituent of hers and she represents you, you're somebody that can make a difference. A bunch of different phone calls, 5 or 10 phone calls in the office about passing this Token Taxonomy Act, or talking about it or trying to get a meeting, is worth thousands of voices. And it's just like what Mark was saying before, when you have 16,000 people. Well, that's how many people signed, but there are over 100,000 plus people out there. It's just a representative sort of a little core of that. And Jeff, while we have the chance to do this, I want to let you guys know we did open up a merch shop, and this is one of our newer tees right here. If you're into this whole lawsuit here, this is the SEC Wars, like Star Wars, Ripple Strikes Back. You can get that. And on the back over here, we got this little cool on the chain. Jeff's wearing the other shirt there it is. Can't be 100% sure, but I think it's magic. And that's XRP. And we have cool stickers like this, where you can get the moon mission, stick that in your car. We got a whole bunch of shirts like that too, the moon mission. And then I've got this ideal. Look at this little sucker right there. Bam. So you got the live channel and the regular channel on there, but this has become my favorite go-to. It goes everywhere with me and some water. So anyway.
Hey, Chip, you know who's in LA that could reach out to Maxine Waters?
I do.
Come on, man. Berserker.
Berserker, you Channing. Come on, there's a bunch of people out there in Los Angeles that could definitely do that.
There's a lot of people on here. There's a lot of people on the stream right now, I'm sure.
Hey, another thing I wish somebody would do.
Shout out to Tina Hall. Thank you, Tina. Sorry.
That's awesome. Another thing I wish somebody would do, and maybe you guys take this project on. I wish somebody would do a GoFundMe to be able to take out a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal that makes the case that you just made about why a regulatory framework is so critical and that we need a bipartisan effort to get it done finally.
Agreed.
That's why we bring you on the show, Mark. You're so smart. You always have these great ideas. Mark's like, why don't you guys take out this? Quite honestly, the amount of people that read that, anyone in the business, it's got such a great readership. And and somebody, hey, did you see what was in the journal this morning? And they rip it out and then they bring it to Congress. We have the sponsors in there. Here's what we have to do. Jeff, I like this idea a lot. What do you think about this idea?
Love it. It's a great idea. Put it billboards. How about some big billboards? We'll put them up, near all the congressional offices.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. Drive around with a bus.
A bus will work. Yeah, one of those. One of the moving billboards. I like that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Chase all the Congress around town. As we're going to one of their lunch meetings.
Beep, beep, beep.
just drive it behind them. Regulatory clarity. I'm like, it's the one thing that they have as many Republicans as Democrats. Oh my God, this is a breakthrough. So let's get the rest of them together and let's have some tea and coffee and let's call it an afternoon and let's just get together. I mean, the fact is there's not a lot of agreement that much anymore, but this one has amazing bipartisan support and it's the third time. It was introduced on March 8th, which is my brother's birthday, little Chip's birthday. And I'm like, the third time. They always say the third time's a charm, and I'm hoping that is going to come true again.
It really needs to happen.
It's imperative that it happens.
It is.
Hey, you're so dressed up today, Jeff.
Why?
That's what we should have done last time. We should have wore our t-shirts.
Hey, next time I'll be wearing some of that merch.
Sweet. Well, hang on a second. Isn't this your fifth time on the show?
I don't know. A couple of times.
Yeah. Well, we say when you hit number five
times and you get something.
Well, see, on Saturday Night Live, you get the jacket on Saturday Night Live. On the chain, you get yourself an on the chain hoodie that you get to pick out, and we send it to you. And I'm gonna have to check. I think you've been on at least 5 times, 4 or 5 times. You get the official.
I don't know. You guys keep falling for it, so that's on you.
It's great, man. We bring you on here, and it's like you're that. It's like, you have the fifth Beatle, and it's like, we have a bunch of people out there like the third wheel and the third OTC official. You get on here so many times, and there's been a bunch of them. We get everybody up to 4, and they're like, we'll never have them on again because it's like, we don't want to give them a hoodie.
Cut off. That's it.
You wear out your welcome.
That's right. So XRP Speedboat over in Canada is saying, here's a donation towards Mark's idea. So we're,
Hey, Mark, you want to take a stab at that and write that up? We can kind of source some of this from the community. I mean, we can probably post it, or we can get
keep it going.
Yeah, because why don't we get this going? I love the idea of it. Flesh out the idea, what it might say, what it's a full page. I mean, this is big. I don't know what a full page costs, but Jeff and I
you remember Ripple took one out that I think was co-signed by Brad and Chris, I believe. And basically the whole point was, don't paint us all with one broad brush.
Right.
We're different.
Right.
Was that preemptive, ahead of the SEC lawsuit? Who knows? But the point was, everybody was talking about it. Now, don't you think there would be Julia Chatterley on CNN would be covering it? Everybody'd be talking about it. So I think it would be just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's
I like
a
the
great
idea. We
idea.
gotta move forward.
Tokyo Sander. Here's the first donation for the GoFundMe. Also, everyone loves the idea. And he said, congrats on the 100th stream, guys. It's a 100th podcast. So
100 podcasts on stream.
Yep. So appreciate that. But man, it's we came up on the hour here. Love your idea. We're going to have to make sure we can even get that out there on Twitter and just keep hammering away at it and just, keep pinging all the different congressional representatives with, information on XRP. And that could also be very, very impactful, because one of the things that you can take out of all of this, if you can't get to your congressional rep, you can get to their staffers. And a lot of times their staffers are monitoring their congressional Twitters as well. So I think that is and can be very, very effective. And just keep it going. Get it out to every single rep. It'd be perfect.
That's great. Well, listen, Mark, I want to give you the final word. We did man, this went by so fast as always, but we want to give you the final word. Got here late. What? Okay, forget about it. Since CAK got here late, we're going to do another hour.
Late.
Okay, what the hell?
Start it all over again.
We're just doing another hour. Either that, or you can hit the rewind button. You can zip it all the way back to the beginning. You can watch from the beginning. But it was a fantastic show, and as always, great having you on. But I want to give you the last word before we get out of here. And big thanks to everybody out there. Thank you for coming in here and making this a solid stream. I think Blockchain Backer, I'm pretty sure he had a lot to do with as many people that filed in here tonight. I bet you he sent the tweet out, although I haven't confirmed it. But thank you, Blockchain Backer. Thank you, all the Blockchain backers of the Blockchain Backer. So anyway, go ahead, Mark.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Thanks again for having me on. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. It's great to be part of this wonderful community. My parting thought would be, pay attention to this green narrative that's emerging. I think it's really a bad look for proof of work concept projects, and I think it's a really great look for some others like XRP and some of the newer ones. So anyway, that's what I would say. Pay attention to that, because I think you're going to see it starting to get a lot of coverage in the news over the next 6 months or so.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's outstanding. I just want to say, Mark, thanks for coming back on. Thank you, everybody that's here with us, that spends every Sunday through Thursday with us. We do stream Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out the other channel. We have short form videos over there, and we drop daily content with that, Chip.
That's it. That's all I know. Mark, hang out for a little bit.
We'll see you.
Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Looking forward to tomorrow night. It's going to be a big week. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. What are the SEC steps in this time? But it's going to be fun watching it. See you on the next one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.